Hey, what's up with it, King? What's up with it, Queen? You already know who it is. It's your big brother, Demont Pope, aka Mr. Purpose, over pointless excuses. Listen, hey, I got another special guest for you today. First of all, I just want to thank you for stopping through. I want to thank you for spending time with your bro. Listen, man, I got a special guest for y'all today. You're not gonna want to miss this person. But remember, it's your big bro, so you already know I'm talking about purpose. So we came together, right, to bring our resources together, our knowledge, our information, and see if we can add some value to you or somebody you know. So without further delay, I want to present to some, right, introduce to others, right, none other than Dr. Tameka Ellington. Yeah, what's up, sis?
What's up?
I'm so grateful for you. I know you're busy, like you got a ton of hats, right, and you're doing a lot of major things. So I appreciate you for not considering it robbery to come kick it, bruh, as we speak purpose. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Anything for my brother, anything.
See, that's love. And I hope y'all paying attention to that, man, because it shows how important relationships are. Absolutely. And nobody who is successful is an island. So I've been honored to know Dr. Tameka ever since we first met. Like, we're a part of a community of speakers, and I brought a few of our classmates on, so to speak, a few of our classmates, peers, colleagues, however you want to say it, right? But she's special, you know what I mean? It's something about her, and I'm sure you'll find that out in a minute. So without further delay, I know you, Dr. T, you know what I'm saying? I know you, I know the hats you wear, and I know some of the struggles you've had to overcome to get to where you are today. It didn't come without a risk factor, right? We're talking about entrepreneurship and business ownership. So first of all, jump right into it for the listeners, because they like, man, who is she, man? You all excited? Like, who is she? I don't know her. All right, cool. So do me a favor. Tell us, who is Dr. And you got to pause when you say doctor.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, who is Dr. Tameka Ellington, and what exactly is it that you do?
So I am actually currently an empowerment speaker. I'm an author. I've published 3 different books, 2 empowerment books. I have my book, Make Fear Your Superpower, is my first empowerment book that I published. And then I have another book that's specifically for, this is Be the GOAT, Career Readiness Manual for First Generation Students and Young Professionals. So I've been, working in academia now for probably about 15 years. Recently just stepped out on my own and started my business, speaking business full time. I'm going to be stepping into coaching real soon.
Okay,
I'm starting a podcast real soon. The podcast is called Student Access 101. So I'll be talking about critical topics that relate to access for underrepresented students and first generation students.
Wow.
So so I'm excited about that. But I actually began my career as a fashion designer.
What?
So, yes.
You make threads, you make designs, you make your clothes.
Absolutely, yes.
And when you think you know a person, man, I thought I knew you. I don't even know you. Who are you?
Yeah, started off as a fashion designer. So I used to work for big companies like Abercrombie and Fitch. I was a designer for them. I was a designer for Bath and Body Works and some of the other limited corporations. Nice. And, while I was working in fashion, I absolutely loved it, but I didn't feel as though I was fulfilled. There was still something missing. I was, doing what I was trained to do as a fashion designer, and I loved what I was doing, but I just didn't feel like I was adding anything to the universe.
You know what I like what you said? You were doing what you were trained to do. And
right.
I'm pretty sure you were amazing at doing it. But the difference, that key word, I don't want the people to miss. You were doing what you were trained to do, not necessarily purposed to do.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I love it.
Yeah. And it just so happened that, I ended up going into teaching, and I started teaching, and teaching led me then into empowerment speaking. My students, they were the ones that really encouraged me to step out and do it, because they were telling me like, oh, well, Dr. Ellington, you helped me increase my level of self-esteem, or Dr. Ellington, you really showed me that I can do anything. And so not only was I, teaching these young people, but I was empowering them and didn't even know it. And the kids were like, I told them, I said, I think I want to be a speaker. And my students were like, you should do it. You will be great at it. And so if it wasn't for my students encouraging me, then I probably, wouldn't have even thought to do it. But you know, they were my encouragement. And I started the First Generation Revolutionaries movement a few years ago, which is a movement that is dedicated to first generation students, empowering them and providing them with career, professional development, personal development. So yeah, that's me.
I love it, Dr. T. And first of all, I owe you an apology, man, because in the middle of your interview, we just jumping off, getting into some good stuff. I got things going on. I got the office line ringing, but that's what we want, right? So,
yes,
you know, absolutely. I'm not even going to edit that part out because we want the phone to be ringing, because in this entrepreneurial grind, a lot of times we got to make phone calls. So I'm just happy that the phone is ringing. Somebody checking for you. Boy.
It's a blessing to have your phone ringing. Absolutely.
Yeah. And also I'm reaching. So when you brought up those books, you mentioned something. So I had to do a little reaching in my little bag right quick. You know what I'm saying? Because what the people don't know, I haven't announced on the interviews yet, is that, look, your boy got a book coming out too. And I just got my proof right quick. You know what I'm saying? I'm going over the proof, making sure everything is everything. So I got a book myself that's about to be coming out. It's actually available for pre-order right now. If they get at me via website or via my social media, I can get you the pre-order form and all of that. And it's also available on Amazon right now for pre-order too. But, you know, shameless plug. It ain't out officially until March 25th. But since Dr. T came in here with all that heat, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't let her do it by herself. So I got to join you with throwing the book up. So make sure y'all look.
Congratulations, bro.
Yeah, thank you, sis. Yes. Thank you, sis. My first time, and you are a 3 times author. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So kudos to you, because I know going through this process, I'd be like, man, what am I doing? Like, this is so frustrating. It's difficult, but it's rewarding and fulfilling at the end. So
absolutely.
Thank you for your contributions, Dr. T. Now, you told us that you started out in an entirely different career field. You talked about fashion designing, which is a very lucrative industry. To be honest, it's competitive, but it's very, very rewarding financially and in other ways. But you had to transition, right? And we going into our next question. And I just want to remind the listeners that you said that you were doing what you were trained to do.
Absolutely.
Right? But there was still something on the inside of you that you were purposed to do, that you were born to do, that you were created to do, that God had blessed you with natural gifts, talents, and abilities that you did not necessarily have to be trained for to start, but you had to invest and get the knowledge and get the information. And as an educator, I'm sure you can value knowledge and information, right? Because that propelled you to where you are today, and it made you an authority, right? And it made you a 3-time author, right? Now, not only that, but you talked about your students. Yeah, and that's a sweet spot, because we both have a passion for these students. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that's going to lead me to my next question, because my next question was, you know, did you always want to be, before there was a doctor, did Tamika, the little girl Tamika, right? Did you always want to be a speaker, educator, author with a PhD? But wait, not only are you all of that, but I did a little research. I was dibbling dabbling on your website, and I saw that you are not only all of these things, but you are also not just an educator, but an award-winning educator and scholar. Not only that, but you are also a student advocate. Like, you wear a lot of hats. You wear a lot of hats, Doc. So talk to me about that. Now, you already hinted that the kids, the students, kind of confirmed or stamped your stepping into your purpose, because all you was doing was teaching the kids. You were doing what you love doing, adding value to those students, and they came and told you that the value that you were bringing them was so much bigger than you even thought. Let's talk about that. How did this start?
Oh my gosh. You know what? I never would have ever dreamed that I would be doing this. I used to be really shy, Demont. Very, very shy. Like, I could not get up and speak in front of a room of people without stammering, stuttering. I mean, it was a mess. Like, when I first started out, like, I remember my very first class I ever taught was at Michigan State. I was teaching a drawing class for Michigan State. I got up in front of those students the very first day. I felt like I was about to throw up, because I was just like, my body was just so nervous, you know. I would have never guessed that I would have been doing this ever since I was a little girl. I would say probably since I was about in 8th grade, I knew that I wanted to do fashion design. That was one of my first loves. Even before that, I knew that I was always a creative person. The first job I really wanted was to be an illustrator for Marvel Comics. Wow. That was the first job I really wanted. So I would have been drawing Spider-Man and everybody else, right?
Come on.
Right. So that was the first job that I wanted. But then as soon as I got a chance to touch a sewing machine, my life changed forever. And I knew that, sewing and being a fashion designer was what I wanted to do. And I still consider myself a fashion designer. I love it. But me being an educator, it just so happened that I was a fashion educator. I could have been teaching music. I could have been teaching photography, whatever the case might be. It just so happened that I was a fashion educator. And that opportunity led me to where I am now, because I would have never been able to step into this, this new industry of being an empowerment speaker if I didn't take that step first, if I wasn't an educator first, So it's what led me to doing what I'm doing right now. Yeah. And I left, as you know, before I left Kent State, I was assistant dean for the College of the Arts, and I left my 6-figure cushy job, to do this. That's my purpose. As you have on your shirt, it's my purpose. It is my purpose. And I was willing to risk it all, as willing to risk it all.
Oh, yeah.
For me to follow my purpose.
Yeah, I'm knowing. And that's one of the things. Listen, I'm glad I wasn't gonna tell your business, you know what I'm saying? But I'm glad you're telling your business, because that's one of the things, that I noticed about you right off. I noticed the struggle and the transition that you were in when we first had the opportunity to meet in person at the conference that we had. Now, when you said that you were walking away, right? 6 figures. So you already financially successful, right? You already have the accolades, the titles, the PhD, right? You already are in position. We're talking about what was your title officially at Kent State?
Assistant dean.
Assistant dean, right? So we talking about you were already in a comfortable career where you can retire from, right?
Had tenure and everything. They would have never fired me.
Wasn't going nowhere. But
I walked away from my tenure.
You had to walk away from it because of purpose, right? Because of something greater on the inside of you. You took a risk. You risked it all. You said, I'm gonna walk away from these 6 figures. I don't know how my next dollar is coming, but I know it's something inside of me that I can offer.
You gotta say it. Absolutely.
But I can't offer it until I break away from these chains of restriction, because even though I had tenure, even though you had all of the accolades and all of the position and all of the foundation laid, guess what? There was something inside of you. Listen, you had to break beyond that ceiling. And I told somebody on the last interview is you can't let somebody else ceiling be your ceiling, because guess what? When they max out, you could be just beginning. And that's what happened with you, Dr. Tamika. Like they hit the ceiling and you were just beginning. Their ceiling was your floor. Now you're stepping on up, moving on up like George and Weezy. Huh? That's throwback. Like they don't know nothing about that. You know what I'm saying?
And what's really interesting is that a lot of people criticize me. A lot of people was like, I can't believe you're doing this. Like you don't have to.
Let me stop you. You better stop, because you're going into another question and we ain't got there yet. Criticized you. People criticized you. We're going to deal with that in a minute. But let me pause you, because I want to get to the next question, right? I don't want you to ruin the goods, you know what I'm saying, for later on. But keep that in the back of your mind, that the people criticized you and the people did not see what your vision was. Because after all, it wasn't their vision, it's yours.
Absolutely.
Doctor. You know what I'm saying? So let me ask you this. Since you were talking about the criticism, I want to know, because we know about all of your successes, right? We know about the award winning, right? We know that you're this successful, this magnificent, dynamic, powerful empowerment speaker, this 3-time author, right? We know this right now, all right? But now tell me about this. What is the biggest challenge that you're facing right now, right? And how are you handling it? Let's talk about that.
Wow.
I'm sorry, I had to go there.
I'm happy to say that I've been able to get over one of the biggest challenges that I've been facing. As you know, one of the things that I had to sacrifice going into this was walking away from my marriage of 14 years. I had to walk away because my ex-husband was one of those people who criticized me, was one of those people who didn't want to support me. But I've been able to get beyond that. And so right now, what my focus is, and one of the things that I'm really challenged on, is just being disciplined. I've always been a very disciplined person. But when you become an entrepreneur, it takes discipline to a whole nother level. I mean, and so the consistency and the discipline are things that I've been, really working to get a handle on. And I actually started off the new year with an amazing chart that I built for myself that talks about my weekly goals, my daily goals, my year-end goals, what I'm hoping to, accomplish for the whole year. So I'm getting my stuff together, so that I can be ready, because I have to, if I don't be disciplined, my business won't be able to grow as fruitful as I know it could be,
You said a mouthful. Listen,
yeah.
and with that challenge, and again, you shared that struggle too. So again, I think we were joined together because of the power in your struggle. See, sometimes we don't know how our struggle can empower others.
Absolutely.
And me, like you talked about wanting to do the fashion design and talked about wanting to do the Marvel comic situation. And I love superhero movies. And not only that, but guess what, Dr. T, I ain't always wanted to be no speaker myself. I didn't always want to be, doing a podcast called King Speaks. I didn't want to be doing a YouTube channel, you know what I'm saying? Or none of this stuff. Like in my mind, when I was growing up, like when I heard Tupac and I learned the Tupac Shakur song front and back, the whole song, you couldn't tell me that I wasn't supposed to be a rapper. So I spent every day of my life, Dr. T, working on being a rapper. But guess what? Because I grew up in the church, so my background is spiritual, right? So I can't act like that's not a part of who I am. Even when I try to get away from it, God be like, you remember who you are. You know what I'm saying? And I tried to be, well, for so many years, I built the career on gospel rapping, because although I had a gift for music, I've always wanted to inspire and empower and uplift people. So I thought I was going to be this successful gospel rapper. And I dedicated years of this. But I noticed one thing, Dr. T, as I went to do shows for music, right? I got my own company, KOBG Music Group. You can look that up. We still official. We still got some music out there. Check it out. But as we did shows, I noticed that I got more and more offers and opportunities to speak. Now, growing up in the church and, coming from being in youth ministry, I was a assistant youth pastor before. I've been a youth pastor at one point. And coming from that, like, I didn't understand why I was always being handed a microphone, but it wasn't necessarily always to rap. So I'm glad you highlighted that sometimes you have to pivot, right? Sometimes you don't have to quit doing what you're doing, but sometimes you got to pivot because God may be leading you in a different direction according to your purpose. So, I thought the music was going to make me successful, but the music prepared me, gave me stage presence, gave me the confidence to be on stage or in front of people with a microphone. So I love that. So when you talk about criticism, like I got people that be criticizing me now because they so used to every time I open my mouth, they're so used to me preaching or giving a spiritual message. So it's like now they can't really understand, what's really going on, but it's like you can't put God in a box. So I had to break out of that box and I had to lose some friends. I had to lose some relationships. I too have been divorced, right? So we got some similarities in our struggle. So I'm glad that you highlighting this, and this one is already going different than the other interviews. And I love it because I think we're going to start a whole nother series right here with you with this one. So you set the standard for the next interviews to come. So I'm grateful for that. Now, since we're talking about the criticism, right? You told me about the husband that you had to walk away from, the ex-husband. So you had to break the family structure, something that you had invested in and you was planning to be in for life, but it wasn't balancing out with your purpose. Sometimes we can be unevenly yoked. The Bible talk about us being evenly yoked, right? And people don't really understand that. I ain't going to preach to you, but it's in here. You understand that? So you noticed that you were unevenly yoked. Like I noticed that I was unevenly yoked. And that's one of the hardest things for people have to do when you really love your family and you really are in it for the long haul. That's the biggest sacrifice you can walk away from, right? But you're noticing that sacrifice wasn't for nothing. You're growing because of it. And now even he can see the evidence of it. Now, let me ask you this, since we're talking about the criticism, we're talking about the struggles, we're talking about the challenge, and it's all wrapped up in one word, purpose, right?
Purpose,
So Dr. Tamika, talk to me about the insult, right? What is an insult that you received, right? That you are now proud of? Like, I can't believe they said that. I can't believe they criticized. I can't believe, but now I'm so glad that you said and that you did what you did because it pushed me to get right here. Let's talk about that.
Oh my goodness. Demont, I am the first Black professor of fashion ever at Kent State University.
Whoa, say that again.
I am the first Black professor of fashion design ever at Kent State University.
History.
When in history, when I came into that position, I ended up having to file an affirmative action case against the fashion school because I had previously applied for 3 other positions and got denied for all 3. And I realized that because I was working there as a part-time instructor, it was good for me to work part-time, but they didn't want to have me work full-time and have more control and have more stature. They didn't want that. They were like, okay, she can stay part-time. But since I was working there part-time, I saw the individuals that they hired instead of hiring me. And I realized that these people were not as qualified as me. Only thing they had over me was that they were white.
Wow.
That's the only thing they had over me, right?
Real issue. Let's talk about it.
Right. When I became professor, when I attained my PhD, one of the worst insults that I ever got, that I just glorify now, because it's what gave me my fire, right? I've had colleagues of mine, white colleagues of mine, compliment me on how eloquently I speak.
Oh, wow. Wow, they were expecting you to talk like me.
Like, you're so eloquent. You're so outspoken. I'm like, am I not supposed to be?
Come on, sis.
Am I not supposed? You expect something different?
Talk.
And so I was able to take that negativity and just turn it into this amazing person that you see before you, because the insults is what gave me my fire. I'm telling you, knowing the fact that I was in a space where the people didn't want me to be there in the first place. And for me to be able to work through all of that, I got to a point where, because I used to go to work, stress was just, it was just unbelievable stress, right? To the point where my hair was falling out. I ended up getting shingles. I was only like 37 or something, and I ended up getting shingles. I mean, who does that? Because of all of that stress, God spoke to me after about 2 years of living in that stress. And God spoke to me and was like, why do you care so much about what these folks think about you? Why do you care? I gave you the power. I gave you the gift. You showed that gift. And when I got over the fact that, whatever other people had to say, it didn't matter. Then that's when the fire happened. That's when I was able to just be me and just be my excellent self without worrying about what my colleagues had to say about me.
Come on.
The fact that they thought that I wasn't talented enough to be here, knowing that God put me here to be the first Black professor.
My goodness. Listen, man, you about to take this thing somewhere, because it's like, first of all, you were denied for a certain position 3 times.
Absolutely.
And you didn't give up. You went as far as, look, I'm gonna do something about this, because I've noticed the problem. And see, we talking about issues that plagued Black people for generations to come. So you know what I mean? We talking about a struggle that it isn't a mystery. It isn't a secret. It's been hidden. Right. It's been exposed. It's been whitewashed, thrown under the rug. Like, it's been an ongoing issue that Blacks are facing challenges and obstacles and struggling for certain positions. And then you having to endure that and be a woman on top of that. Right. The first Black woman, right, to hold that position. And that's forever etched in stone in history, right? They can't remove that. But it didn't come without some hurt. It didn't come without some pain. Like, we can't walk in this purpose. We can't live in this purpose. Like, if you didn't feel that hurt, right? If you didn't feel that pain, if you didn't have to go through that insult and feel like, just because you were well-spoken. And I can relate, because, you see how I talk, and I'm not as eloquent with my speech as you are. But it's okay. I used to get in trouble all the time for talking in school, right? They used to get on me, need improvement, unsatisfactory conduct. Now, when I step up in the school, the teachers be like, talk that talk.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. So I love it, Dr. T. Now, let me ask you this right here, right? Tell me, first of all, listen, if you're getting value from Dr. Tameka Ellington, if you're getting value from yours truly, Demont Pope, this is what I need you to do, right? I need you to go ahead, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, right? Hit the notification bell so you get notified when we drop a new content, right? Also, I need you to hit the thumbs up if you're getting value from it. I need you to let it be known, right? Like that we ain't just wasting our time. Like our purpose matters to us, but we need it to be adding value to you, because that's why we're here. And we wasting time if we're not adding value. Then I need to switch up and do some different things. So listen, hit the like, hit the share, right? Do whatever you got to do to get this in front of people who may need to hear this information, and also to keep yourself informed of what's going on, right? Now, Dr. T, listen, that's what I want you to do, right? I want you to talk to me now about the 3 most influential people, right, in your life and how they have impacted you. Let's talk about that.
Mentors have always been really important to me, because I didn't get support from at home. I'm the first person in my family to go to school and get a college degree. I'm still the only person in my family to get a college degree. And I didn't really have support from my house. My mother was a teenage mother. She did the best she could, you know, raising me, my brother, and my sister. My dad was in prison for half of my growing up. And so I had to get my support elsewhere. And so one of the people that was probably the most important in my life was a lady. Her name is Miss Carol. She was my Sunday school teacher when I was in high school. And I used to come to her, like, not only did she help me, you know, of course, like learn the lessons or whatever, but after class, me and Miss Carol would just sit and she would just talk to me and just pour into me.
Yeah.
And so I would say, Miss Carol,
take your time.
I had amazing art teachers. I'm an artist. And so I had a gentleman who was a leather crafter. He was our industrial arts teacher. And he taught me everything I know about how to make leather bags, wallets, and stuff like that. That was actually one of my first businesses that I had, Demont, was I used to make leather bags and wallets and sell them to my friends in school, you know? And so his name was Mr. Clary. And Mr. Clary, he gave me skills that I still use today, you know, and just was able to allow me to see a life different than the life that I had at home. And I would say the third person that was the most influential to me is my mother. And the reason why I would say that is because she was the one who allowed me to see that God's purpose can't be stopped by anyone, even if it is your mother.
Come on.
My mother and I haven't spoken in over 2 years.
Wow.
And it's because she's always had a problem with the fact that she saw something in me, like God just put this determination, this to fight in me from the very beginning. And she saw that. And because she wasn't woman enough, or whatever the case might be, to live out the dreams that she wanted to live out, she began to deflect all that negative energy towards me.
Wow.
And me and my mother have always had a very difficult relationship, always. And I've realized that no matter how much you care and love someone, if they are not for you, then they are against you.
Wow.
And if she's not for me, she is against me. She can still be the woman who birthed me. But if you're not wanting me to succeed, then you're obviously wanting me to fail.
Wow.
You know, so it's like, once I was able to, you know, like move beyond the idea of the fact that I may never talk to my mother again. I may never speak to her again, because you know what? I refuse to dim who I am to make them feel more comfortable with me. I'm not doing it. So you either love me the way that I am in all my excellenceness, right? You love me the way that I am.
Yeah.
Or you don't love me at all.
Wow. Wow, that's big, Dr. T. And that last statement, when you said, if you're not for me, then you're against me. Like,
absolutely.
Like, again, that honestly reminds me of something that I read in my favorite book, man. And it's called the Bible, in case you want to know. You know what I'm saying? It's called the Bible. Like I was reading it one time, and then there's a man I heard, I read about, his name was Jesus. You know what I mean? Jesus Christ, to be exact. Yeah. I can say what I want to say, because this is Demont Pope speaks, and this is how I found my purpose. And he said, he that gathers not with me scatters. And that's a powerful quote. He that gathers not with me scatters. So regardless of what the intentions are, like if you're not gathering or building people up with me, then you're doing the opposite, which is tearing them down. The opposite of building up is tearing down. And we know we have to have opposites to keep balance, you know what I mean, in this life. So, you know, those people are necessary, right? But we also have to know and be confident, because what you just displayed is self-assurance, self-confidence, self-value, self-worth, because you said that regardless of who it is and how close the relationship and what the person mean, I'm not going to dim my light, right, to impress or to fit in or to please somebody else. Yeah. And that's the thing, like God has given us a light, and we're supposed to shine that light. We're supposed to put it right on the top of the lampstand or something like that, so it shines light. What's the purpose of sparking the flame or lighting the candle if you're gonna put it under the table? You know, only thing gonna be lit up is underneath the table. You get what I'm saying? Absolutely. So you got to put it on the table, and you put it all on the table right here. So even though you've had your mother in your life, the relationship has been a struggle, and some little girl is out there struggling with the relationship with her mom, right? And I've never really had a relationship with my biological father, or who I know to be my biological father. That's still up in the air because of some words that he said himself. But there's somebody that's struggling that needs to know that, guess what? There is purpose in that, right? You can overcome that, and you can still find success beyond that. And success isn't always limited to money, because if you notice, guys, we haven't really talked about money yet. Only thing we've mentioned about money was Dr. Tamika walked away from 6 figures. A lot of y'all running to 6 figures, and y'all running to the money, and you compromising your integrity, and you compromising your ethics, and you're compromising your purpose because you chasing the paper, right? So Dr. Tamika said she walked away from 6 figures, and y'all like, man, she got to be crazy. No, she ain't crazy. She living on purpose. She living on purpose. So I'm glad that you answered the question about the most influential people in your life. Sometimes people think that the most influential people are the people that's rooting us on and the people that's supporting us. But sometimes the people who don't support you, the people who don't believe in you, sometimes that can fuel your determination. Absolutely. And it can fuel your will and your why to keep going. So grateful for you sharing those 3 influences. And also you pointed out something that I'm not sure any of the other guests mentioned yet. But I also made a point of highlighting it. Sometimes, right, those influential people don't come from inside of your home, right? They don't come inside of your front door. Sometimes you have to go out, and that's what you did. You found mentors that were, in your eyes, already successful or beyond where you wanted to be, and you allowed them to pour into you. And mentorship is important because, of course, that's how we know each other. Is our mentor, Jeremy Anderson, right? That brought us together, right? And created the community that we now know as the Next Level Speakers Academy, and those of us who are part of the Next Level Speakers Elite, right? So I'm grateful for that. And for years, I searched for mentorship, right? Because I just talked about my dad not being in my life. So I've always wanted to see what that really felt like, or what it really looked like. So I've been looking for mentors and all of this, and finding them in the wrong places and trying to pattern yourself behind them. And it's difficult because then you realize they really wasn't who you thought they were. So you really have to let God lead you. And it has to be a divine appointment when you're searching for mentors, because you don't want to be mentored and become something that you were never meant to be. All right. So yeah. We taking it there, Dr. T. But listen, before we get ready to get up out of here, right, before I ask another question, this is what I want you to know. All right. This is what I want you to do. I want you to let the people know, like, where they can find you at, where your website, social media handles, like what's going on with Dr. Tameka Ellington, what's coming up. Like, tell us right now where we can connect with you at.
You can connect with me on my website, drtamekaellington.com. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, all under Dr. Tameka, Dr. Tameka Ellington. And the thing that's coming up big for me right now, like I said, is my podcast. My podcast is called Student Access 101. And I'm going to be interviewing amazing people who work in the academic spaces. I actually even have another person that's going to be coming up that's been really influential in my life. She's actually working with Planned Parenthood. She's been working with Planned Parenthood for many years. And I really want to work with her and talk to her about the influence that Planned Parenthood has in students' lives. Because I'm telling you, when I was a student, you know, I was there all the time. And they not only did they help me, you know, through some of the things that I was dealing with as a woman, but they also helped me to figure out ways that I can better take care of myself. You know, like when you're a student, a lot of times you don't have insurance and things. And so they just help you with that. But my podcast is something that I've been putting off for a long time because I just didn't want to put myself in that space. You know, I didn't feel like I fit in that space. But because of you all, because of, you know, our friends that we have in the group, Ben Lundquist was one of the ones that really motivated me. Jeremy motivated me to do it. And so now it's like, I'm ready now. I got my stuff together and that's going to be it. It's going to be another way that I can empower people.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you keep bringing that word up, empowerment, right? Yes. And people have to know that inspiring is one thing, motivating is one thing, right. Educating is one thing, but all of those three intertwined creates empowerment because you give people actual practical steps that they can do. You have actual experience, actual data that can be compared, right? So empowerment is major, and you are all things empowerment. Like even the podcast is catered towards empowering students, right? You are an empowerment speaker, right? The books that you've written, you talking about empowerment, right? So we both know, and I'm sure the listeners have gathered by now, that education is definitely your friend. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. And I love it. And it's important for all of us to be educated. And listen, don't misunderstand us. Like everybody isn't built or able to dig deep into the collegiate form of education. But listen, like I'm a lifelong student, right? Yeah. Whether I'm enrolled in a college or whether I'm in the Speakers Academy or the Speakers Next Level Elite, whatever the case may be, like I'm always going to be getting education, right? I'm always going to be learning. And the things that students have today, Dr. Tamika, that we didn't have growing up, was the click of the button. They can ask Google anything. And I tell my kids this all the time. Like, look, you don't have an excuse. Like I'm Mr. Purpose over pointless excuses. Like Pope is more than just our last name. So I let them know, like, you don't have the luxury of using the excuse that I didn't know how to do it. Like you can click on Google. Like we had to get the encyclopedias out to do. We had to go to the library. We had to go to the library. Our room. We had to, all of it. We had to work harder. Right. Yep. So the access is greater. And now we're tapping into using this access, because I ain't finna lie, Dr. Tamika, this social media thing, this digital world is different for me, because I ain't really trying to be on the social media like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't really, that's not really me. But it's breaking me out of my comfort zone, because now we have to learn how to bring what we have to these students. And that's where they are. They're on social media. So I'm glad you let us know where we can find you at on social media. I'm glad you let us know what you got coming up with the podcast. I can't wait to view it. I'm going to be checking in. I'm subscribing. I don't know what y'all doing, but I'm going to be watching it. You know what I'm saying? Now, look, before we get ready to get up out of here, Dr. Tamika, I'm going to respect your time. I wish I could have you on longer, but I'm going to respect your time. I told you a certain amount of time. I have to be a man of my word, because that's part of being part of walking in purpose too. You got to be able to keep your word. I can't say I'm going to have you for this long and then keep you for this long, because then you'd be like, Demont lied. He said he was going to have me 20, 30 minutes. He had me on there for an hour and a half. And I can't have you bad mouthing me in these streets. You feel me? I can do that by myself. But if you bad talk me, they going to believe it. Dr. T said I ain't finna do it. I ain't finna do it. All right. So sis, one more question. Yes. What is one piece of advice, right, that you would give to that young man, right? That young girl, right? Who may be struggling in their household, right? Who may not have the ideal relationship with their mother or their father or their siblings, right? Or who feel like they just don't have no support in the house, who they don't know where to go, where to find mentors. Like they don't know. All they know is one day they want to be a successful empowerment speaker, right? Like you and I. One day they want to be a published author like you and I, right? Like, what would you say to that person, like that's just getting started out in our particular industry? What would you say to them?
One of the first things that I would say, and I think it's difficult when you are young, you don't really understand the value in allowing God to just lead you to where you're supposed to go. You know, it's difficult sometimes for you to understand that you are being led, even as grown people, you know, even as adults, we have a hard time understanding that we are being, in everything that we do, we're being led, we're being divinely guided. Mm-hmm. So if these young people can take a moment to just relax and just allow themselves to be divinely guided. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is whatever imagination, whatever thing that God is putting into their spirit, follow whatever that is and allow yourself to be divinely guided. And in the process, also allow yourself to just be you without thinking about what other people have to say, because other people are going to have everything to say.
Yeah.
If you can get beyond what others say, there's so much power in that.
Right.
There's so much power, and only surround yourself with people who want to see you do well. Don't allow negativity. I'm telling you, I won't take a negative phone call. I won't take a negative email. I don't care what it is. Yeah. If it's negative, I don't want it. Block the negativity. Allow yourself to walk in divine purpose, and don't worry about what other people have to think. Just do you and do the best you that you can do.
And you know what I'm highlighting out of this, Dr. Tameka, is basically what you're talking about is protecting yourself.
Absolutely.
Protecting your purpose, protect your vision.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Be careful who you share it with. Block out the negativity, because what we see, right? Our eyes, right, are the gates to our soul. Our soul is our essence, our true being, right? This body is only temporary. So there is something inside of you that's more powerful than what's outside of you.
Absolutely.
But you got to protect what's inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Dr. Tameka, I just want to thank you for kicking it with your brother. You know what I'm saying? I'm so honored. I've been wanting to collaborate with you for a while. I'm so grateful for all of the people of our community. We're using our gifts to come together, and we are cooperating in collaboration. Yes. And we're not competing with one another. I love the word cooperate and collaborate. Yes. I love those words. Yes. I don't too much care for the competition word, even though it's healthy in some aspects. Me personally, I love the cooperation and the collaboration. So thank you, Dr. Tameka.
Yes, it's my pleasure.
Listen, y'all. Hey, again, subscribe, hit the notification bell, thumbs up, like it, share it, do whatever you got to do. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, thank you guys for staying tuned in to the whole episode with yours truly, Demont Pope. Listen, Dr. Tameka Ellington, look, we'll be back next week. But until then, it's your big brother, Demont Pope. That's your big sis, Dr. Tameka Ellington. Put some respect on it. PhD. You dig what I'm saying? But I'm going to be back. We'll see y'all next week on purpose over pointless excuses. Hey, it's your big bro. Until next week. Yeah.